that we have the foreground arm working and operating and flowing the way we want it to, let's change our attention to the background arm, that dark gray arm. And much like we have with our legs, the background arm is the exact same series of poses, just timed a little bit differently. We can and should recycle the drawings that we've already created for our foreground arm and apply them to our background. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. And I have a cool little trick here that's going to help us figure out how to keep all these animation frames consistent across the entire movement. Let's stop the animation and start looking at what we have. Now, previously, I created an animation layer just called back arm, and I just had a simple little drawing just as a placeholder, and I think I'm going to remove that. I want to use all of the keyframing data that I've already done on the front arm for the back arm. Let me show you how I'm going to do it. We're going to delete this thing. We're going to delete this back arm animation layer. We can do that over in our animation layers properties. And hit the little minus sign, and it's gone. It just had a singular drawing, so it didn't lose too much work. And I'm going to start the process of creating my back arm by duplicating the front arm. You find that in the little pull-down menu, and we're going to duplicate it. Let's call it back arm. Or back, whatever you want to do. I'm going to choose back arm. And like we did before, let's move its position inside of the stack to a lower value so that it naturally shows up behind the arm itself. Now, if we were to deactivate the visibility of our front arm inside of our animation layers, you can see that we can start to see that back arm. Let's turn off my onion skinning to make it a little bit easier. Yeah, it looks like the arm is in the back. Now, I want those to be dark gray to match the color of the leg to make it a real consistent drawing. And the easy way for us to do that is just to select all of the keyframes, turn on multi-frame editing, which will allow us to select all of the strokes across all of the frames that we're working with. And then if we simply go into our materials, we can assign the back material to all the selected strokes at the exact same time. All right, let's deselect what we got working with, turn off multi-frame editing, and examine our work. Yeah, now it's starting to look the way we want it to look. However, notice very carefully that the illusion is completely broken. Whenever our back leg, the dark gray leg, steps forward, the arm also swings forward. That's not what we want. Humans don't move like that. Whenever we take a step forward, the arm goes backwards. So we need to have some adjustments to our keyframing to get the result that we're after. Luckily for us, all of this information is currently sitting inside of our timeline. If you think about it, from frames 13 over here to 25, we already have the keyframing information that we need. It's just in the wrong location. In every sense, all of these keyframes should be the first keyframes. This is the contact pose for the beginning of the cycle, and this is the contact pose of the middle of our cycle. So we're going to make some adjustments to our keyframes in the timeline, and this is, again, it speaks to the power of working inside of an application like Blender. I'm going to grab the first 4 keyframes, which represent the back side of the movement. This is when the arm is going to be rotating backwards, right? And I'm going to move those to the end of the animation, somewhere right around over here. Now, it doesn't matter where. We just don't want to override any of the other keyframes on this animation layers. These 5 in here are the beginning of our animation. They should go on frame 1, because this is how the character should look like on the first frame. The gray leg is back, the arm is forward. As we step through the keyframes, as the gray leg begins to take its step, its arm begins to swing backwards. So all of this is working quite lovely. And then there's the contact frame on the back side of the movement itself. And so now, if we examine what we got going on over here, we have some keyframes that we need to adjust. Now, I arbitrarily placed these keyframes over in my timeline here because I need to understand their role. On frame 28, I have a keyframe that really is the contact frame. That's frame 25. This one is the down. This is the passing, and this is the peak. Luckily for us, since we have labels and we can name the role of each one of our poses, it becomes really easy for us to place those keyframes to their corresponding location inside of the animation. Frame 16 is the down pose, so the down pose for that back arm is going to go there. Here is the passing frame. Here's the passing keyframe, and of course, last but not least, here's the peak keyframe. If you look at the animation now, let's see if the illusion is complete. And there we go. If we were to activate the visibility of our foreground arm, Voila, we have our finished animation.